Namaste Seekers. This video is going to be about the journey of Buddha and his teachings. It's not the story of how a prince abandoned his kingdom and left to become an ascetic. We look at the profound wisdom he shared after attaining enlightenment and becoming a Buddha. Buddha means the person whose consciousness has awakened beyond the mind. We look into the life and teachings of the Buddha after he started teaching people the way of attaining nirvana or liberation from all the misery. So what were the secrets uncovered by the Buddha after years of search that culminated under a Bodhi tree where he had spent that last 49 days leading to enlightenment? What would he teach the world for the next 45 years until his passing at the age of 80? We will take a deep dive into the timeless wisdom of an enlightened master whose teachings have withstood and lived for more than 2500 years and is still more relevant today as ever. Even more so for the seekers and those who intend to practice real meditation. Let's begin at the end of a long search by Siddhartha Gautam, who will be known as Gautam the Buddha. After he opened his eyes, he was not the same person. Everything that he was when he sat down under the Bodhi tree had dissolved, and a new being, a Buddha, had opened his eyes. After that, he would go on teaching relentlessly the deep spiritual knowledge and giving the tools and techniques to transcend the limitations of human experience. Today, we mostly think of Buddhism as a religion followed by monks with shaved heads, wearing red robes, and leading lives of austerity. But in all this, the real teachings of the Buddha himself evades us. In this episode, we'll look less at the Buddhist philosophy and learn about the practical teachings of the Buddha. So without any further ado, let's get into the matter. We are not going to talk about any particular religion or God, but we will talk about dharma, which is almost always translated as religion, but it is not. What dharma actually means is the real or eternal nature of reality. So the religion of each person can be different according to the family, society, or tradition they were born into, but the dharma of every human being is the same, because the laws of nature applies equally to each human. And to walk the path of dharma is to strive to understand the fundamental nature of reality and to transcend it as well. The essence of the Buddha's teaching lie in the tools and techniques he gave so that one can navigate the path of dharma. He taught the art of meditation and mindfulness, how through practice of mindfulness one can understand one's true nature. When we think about meditation, we generally picture a person sitting silently in a cross-legged posture with their eyes closed, or maybe making a certain gesture with their finger, pressing their hand on the knees. From outside, it may look like he or she is meditating, but the reality is far from what appears to be. The person who is sitting down may also think, I am closing my eyes and I am meditating. You may be performing the act of meditation, but you are not truly in meditation. Now that we've learned what meditation is not, let's start to understand what it actually means in the light of the Buddha's teachings. So what does meditation really mean? The ultimate goal of meditation is a state where you are not disturbed by any thoughts. The state is also called as samadhi state or equanimous state. Your mind is stable and without any judgment, like a lake without any ripple. The ripples being like the thought that appear in your mind. For the sake of simplicity, the entire teachings of Buddha can be boiled down to 3 points. 1. Train your mind to be under your control. 2. Use this trained, focused mind to observe the sensations in the body, both gross sensations and subtler sensations. This step is also called as vipassana, which means to see things as they really are. And 3. Develop your mind and consciousness to the point of intuition. Now this is just a simple summarization. It needs much patience and practice to master these processes. But it's a great relief to know that at the time when Buddha was around, the people that were most benefited from his techniques were not the monks and ascetics, but the regular people, the farmers, householders, state administrators, and also the kings of that time. So we can safely say that the teachings of the Buddha are not that far-fetched and can be easily learned and implemented to make our lives more meaningful. In this episode, we will only cover the first step, which is to train your mind to be under your control. Now, we should also remember that the techniques are easy to learn and difficult to practice. To train our mind, we start by giving it a certain task. And the most practical task to give our mind is to watch our breath. Breath is the closest thing we can experience with our eyes closed. It seems easy at first, but when we really sit down to close our eyes and silently watch our breath, at first it seems okay. Breathe in, breathe out 1, breathe in, breathe out 2, 3, 4, and then before we realize it, the mind has taken to another task by itself. It has engaged in the thought process, and this is where the challenge lies. We tell our mind to just watch the breath, and the mind engages in the thought process by itself. It disobeys us. It starts to either think about the past or think about the future. It cannot stay where it is at the moment, just watching the breath. So we again and again tell the mind to stay with the breath as many times as required to bring the present moment and stay there. We have to do this with a lot of patience. The practice of mindfulness, vipassana, can be done after we have sufficiently trained our mind to stay with our breath for at least 2 to 3 minutes. So let's not get overwhelmed with the technique and get the tips and tricks that will help us achieve mindfulness with ease. Preparation for meditation. When you sit down for a meditation after taking a cold shower, if possible, it can make a lot of difference to your practice. Just try to sit down with eyes closed for some time after taking a cold shower. You will find that you are much more comfortable in your body. As a beginner, it is best advised to practice in empty stomach or a 2-hour gap after a meal, because closing our eyes after eating will tend to make us sleepy. Find a quiet place where you will not be disturbed for at least 10 to 15 minutes, depending on how long you intend to practice meditation. After you are done with the preparation, close your eyes and say to yourself, I will not move or open my eyes for the next 5, 10 or 15 minutes. Now for the first couple of minutes, try to take some forced deep breaths and then slowly come back to normal breathing. As you are breathing normally, instruct your mind to just be aware of the breath. In the beginning, it will be very difficult to keep your mind with the breath because the very nature of the mind is stubborn. You will instruct the mind to look at the breath. It will act like it's obeying you at first, but soon it starts to wander away into a thought process. It will start engaging itself into some unnecessary things of the past or future. The mind resists your instruction to remain aware of the incoming and outgoing breath. This will start to make us really impatient in the beginning, but we have to accept that this is how our minds are cultivated. To really experience meditation and mindfulness, we have to go beyond this nature of mind and train it slowly and patiently to work for us. So this is the step 1 of the practical teaching of the Buddha, to bring your mind under your control. Only after we have a sufficiently obedient mind, we can go deeper into meditation. And this is the most important step to experiencing deeper states of meditation, the real meditation. Now you may ask, how long should I sit down or close my eyes for? Well, the more advanced practitioners of meditation and mindfulness can sit up to a couple of hours without moving or opening their eyes, but that's a long way to go, and it will definitely take a lot of effort to reach that stage. For us, the beginners, we can start by sitting for 5 to 10 minutes in the beginning and slowly increase the time to 20 to 30 minutes. When we are practicing at home by ourselves, we can learn at our own pace. The important thing is we do the practice regularly and consistently, feel more and more comfortable as we sit down for a meditation session. This is all for this episode. Stay tuned with us as we simplify the many spiritual teachings for you. We will cover the more advanced teachings in the upcoming episode. And also, we will learn about the exercises that we can do before sitting down for a meditation so that our body opens up more and more, becomes more flexible and supple for longer periods of sitting session. Until then, keep practicing the first step we've learned today. Happy seeking.